G'day Gorgeous. I so appreciate you tuning in to today on the podcast that empowers women for life. And if you are brand new to this podcast, then a sincere welcome from me. Great to have you here. Today's topic, it's around money. And the question that I received from one of my ladies inside our select community, Chantelle, asked me a direct question. She says, Amanda, how did you overcome feelings of self-pity and why me after losing a net worth of $1 million in the GFC in 2008? You may remember that. Then pick up the pieces, have the know-how to begin all over again and basically start your life again. Well, that is a personal story, so stick around. The Gday Gorgeous podcast is where you're going to get real, raw and relatable stories, answers and insights and ideas, tools and success strategies that can help you overcome your frustrations of life and go on to create and live a life that you truly love and a life that you deserve. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you've been, gorgeous. I'm Amanda Jane Clarkson. I am a best-selling author, inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, and a world-leading wealth and lifestyle coach for women. And to find out how I can help you gain the confidence to create and design your dream life through my select mentoring and coaching, then pop over to gdaygorgeous.com or click the link in the notes below after this podcast. Okay, so let's dive deep into today's podcast and be sure to have your journal and your diary and a nice cup of whatever, tea, coffee, Bonox, maybe bubbles, I don't know, because you are going to walk away from this podcast with so many aha learnings and inspirations from all that we went through from that experience that absolutely changed our life. Good morning, gorgeous butterflies, and welcome to today's live podcast, where we are going to be talking about money, honey. Thank you for joining me. It is going to be a hot topic today, and love hearts, oh my God, here they come. I love you too. Thank you for joining us. It is a hot topic. Money, loss of money. In the GFC, I lost a net worth of $1 million. And the question was, how did I overcome feelings of self-pity? Why me? The frustration and the heartache. And this podcast is a very raw one because it's my personal story and that I'm going to share with you. But more importantly, the lessons that I needed to get from this will be life-changing for you. So I hope you've got your journal, gorgeous ladies. You will be taking many notes. And I'm excited to be chatting about this topic. You know, we talk about money, we talk about forgiveness, we talk about loss, and then finding the courage to pick up the pieces and start again. You know, it's a hard one, and I'm going to just again call out the question one more time. Good morning, Veronica. This is going to be a good podcast, girlfriend. Pen and paper in hand. Money, Melissa says, show me the money. And throughout this story, ladies, as you relate to it, you know, be interactive. Let me know how you feel as I'm even speaking about this, because I try to eliminate or delete this whole period of my life from my mind. Losing $1 million net is a lot of money. Well, it was for me back then. I don't know how you feel about it, you know, but imagine yourself in my shoes every step of the way. But what I really want you to do is put yourself in my shoes and ask yourself, how would I have responded? How would I have reacted to losing $1 million overnight when the global financial crisis hit? And I don't know about you, babe, but I did not see it coming. Everyone's jumping on to see how I coped losing $1 million net worth in one fell swoop. So as I said, the question is, how did I overcome those feelings of self-pity, find the strength, the know-how, the money to begin all over again? What I'm going to do, ladies, I am going to go straight into my story. And share with you that experience, because unless I take you back to the experience, it's quite hard for me to just say, well, here's how you overcome those grief feelings, feelings of loss unless you've lived through it. Now, give me a thumbs up or a crying emoji or what the hell ever, or an angry one if you got a hit financially when the GFC hit back in 2008. Did anybody else go through an experience of big financial loss that you didn't see coming? Give me a signal, and I'm wondering if I was the only one that went through it on this group. I very much doubt it. So many people lost all of their life savings, all of their net worth, their homes, their jobs, their businesses. And in some cases, I know so many people even became so depressed from that experience that the only way they felt of getting out of it was to take their own life. And there's no judgment from me on this podcast, because each of us have to find ways to deal with this in our own way. And I have to say right up front, without personal development, self-empowerment, which is, what I speak about all day, every day, it literally, I'd have to boil it down to that it saved my sanity and saved our marriage. Because unless you got the tools and the mindset to be able to cope with something like that, I can easily see why most people just couldn't cope mentally or emotionally, broke them physically, and as I said, in some cases, many cases, took their own life because they just couldn't face it. So most of you ladies on this call have read my book, From Frustrated to Fabulous, and I spoke about this story inside the book. If you haven't read it, girls, read it, because it was really a tough time for us, and it made us question a lot about ourselves. And I can actually remember the very moment we got the news. And what had happened is, previous to the GFC, Matt and myself, the way that we made money was to renovate properties. We would buy cheap units, renovate them, because Matt was a carpenter, builder by trade, and we literally worked 7 days a week. Now, most of you ladies know that as a young kid, I always wanted my freedom. I always wanted to be financially debt-free and live the life of my dreams. Hence, that's what we talk about nonstop. And so for me, in the early days, we were willing to sacrifice our time, our energy, friends, fun, freedom at that time to build up our nest egg. And for 5 years straight, we literally worked around the clock, 7 days a week, renovating small units. In fact, when I very first met Matt, he had bought an old house, an old shitter, down in Palm Beach here on the Gold Coast in Australia, if you're not watching, in Australia here. And even as his girlfriend, I helped him renovate that it was an old home. And he tells me today, I always say to Matt, can you remember the day that you fell in love with me and you decided that you wanted me to be your wife? And he goes, I remember the moment. And I said, wow, what was the moment? And I was thinking it's something really sexy, or, I'd had a special dance move that he fell in love with, or, it was just the way I looked. Nah, none of that. I remember I was sitting on an old bucket in the toilet that he was renovating in this house. And I was digging the tiles off the ground. And then, the next day I went out and I was digging ditches in the backyard, all for love, just because I wanted to be around and help him. And he said that any woman who's prepared to sit on a bucket and chip tiles from the toilet floor, then get outside and dig a friggin' ditch, he goes, I just fell in love. He goes, you didn't want any money, you didn't want anything from me. And I'm thinking, shit, I thought it was just my good looks. No. And that's how we sort of began together. From there, we talked about it and we said, this is how we're going to get our freedom. We're going to renovate properties and build our nest egg up and, get rich and wealthy. Okay, so 5 years passes and literally we saved every dollar. Everyone's laughing at me. Thanks, ladies. I know, I thought I was something good, but no, because I'm a good ditch digger and a good renovator. Didn't mind breaking the fingernails back then, but not anymore. And so this went on for 5 years, working 7 days a week. really giving it our everything. And back in those days, this is, back in the year 2000, we didn't have much. We were both broke, but we really both wanted a life together, a life of freedom that we created. And that's hence why I'm always saying, girls, design your life. Don't let it just happen to you. And so over that period of time, we saved a nest egg of $300,000. Now, for some of you might say, well, that's not much money. But back in those days, from the year 2000 to the year 2005, it was a shit ton of money for us. It was every dollar, everything that we'd sacrificed. Then an opportunity came our way. We had this opportunity to invest in this block of land up in northern Queensland and to put a deposit down for $300,000 because that was all the money we had. Yet the block of land had a net worth of $1 million that we would realise when the development was finished in time. And what happened was the developer that was developing these massive blocks of land up in northern Queensland, and it was all done on paper and it was all signed up and everything like that. It was our last dollar we had, last dollar, you can imagine it. But the developer had taken on funding from a USA lender that when the GFC hit, they called in the loans. And what happened is basically the developer here, without going into a long story, they couldn't refinance the deal and literally got wrapped up and everything was lost. Now, I can still remember the day that I got that message. We had not long been speaking on stage. It was in 2008, and we'd literally only been speaking on stage, talking about wealth creation and teaching people how to make money through the internet and eBay for 1 year. And I remember we were in the car. It was early in the morning. We were on our way to the airport to fly down to Sydney to speak about wealth creation and setting yourself up to be financially free in time. And we got the phone call that we had lost everything. And there was no point in chasing anybody because there was nothing to chase. The developer had gone under, everything had been lost. And I remember, ladies, we pulled over on the side of the road. We were driving and we pulled over on the side of the road and literally we just looked at each other and there was just nothing, just literally frozen in absolute disbelief, absolute fear. And I can still remember it like it was yesterday. Now put yourself in my shoes and ask yourself how you would have felt at that time. You got a phone call and you'd lost everything. That the $1 million asset that was all signed off and agreed to and the deal was done, because we'd taken a risk going in, and the payment was that we would own a block of land with a net worth of $1 million that we could realise as soon as the job was done. I have to admit, at first, I literally I felt like I was going to throw up. And you have all this feeling and emotion boil up inside of you, and all of a sudden we started to realise that we had lost everything. The 5 years of working 7 days a week, we had lost it all. And, you girls know me, this is not the first time we've lost and bounced back. But, that time sitting in the car, and we remembered all the times that we'd renovated. I'm not crying for myself. I hate talking about it, but it does bring up this emotion, How do you deal with this stuff? And I remember looking at Matt and I've just gone far out. 5 years of our whole life down the drain. And, the first response or the first reaction is most people just start to point the finger and blame. And, we've been sitting in the car and here we are going to the airport to teach people how to become wealthy and free financially, and we just lost everything, And I just remember just feeling so guilty and so embarrassed and ashamed that I'd been so stupid, And we're sitting there. I said, we've got to get to the airport. We've got to get on a plane, we've just got to pull ourselves together. And so the question is, it boils down to this, and I want to go into it further because I think there's a lot that you can really take from this, is that, at first, when the feelings of humiliation rose up, totally shocked, you felt shameful, small, really stupid. How am I going to face the world? How am I going to, people think that we've got it all worked out. We thought that we had the answers. We thought, oh, happy days, we can retire. Like, seriously, ladies, we thought this was our nest egg, and we had two choices. We sat in that car and we looked at each other, and Matt was silent. And when Matt's silent, I know he's in deep thought and he's trying to protect me. So he doesn't let his emotions show because he was trying to protect me. So we had two choices: to wallow in the self-pity or face it and take that responsibility. Now, I know that is easier said than done because, believe me, at first we wanted to point the finger. We wanted to blame the other people. We were pissed off. We were going, well, why didn't anybody tell us? Why didn't anybody make a phone call to us? Why didn't anybody tell us it was coming? All the emotions and the feelings that I have no doubt millions of other people were experiencing, and we were just caught up in the whole washing machine of it. And I remember Matt started up the car and we drove down to the airport, got on a plane, and he says, we are going to fly to Sydney and we are going to get on that stage and we are going to deliver the very best education that we can. And we made a pact. I remember he took me by the hand and he said, it will be okay. We can restart. We'll be okay. Anyway, we went to Sydney. We got on stage. We did the best we could on stage, and it was a successful weekend. But before I go into how we overcome and how we picked up the pieces, I want to share with you, ladies, some of the mistakes. And if you're a guy listening to this, this is for everyone. These are mistakes that we needed to learn from. We needed to understand that there are two sides of life, and you've got to be ready mentally, emotionally, and physically to handle everything that life brings to you. And I think that I'm going to give you some of these mistakes now, and then I'm going to get you to take notes, girls, because this can be in your love life, in your relationships, money, your job, career, your vocation. It could be in any area of your life, your health. What are the mistakes that you're making? What are you taking for granted? What area of your life do you think you've got it all worked out? But have you? Are you really doing the best that you can do today, ready for tomorrow? And sometimes you just don't see these things coming. And so some of the mistakes that we had to take responsibility for, we handed over our life savings of 5 years, working 7 days a week in one fell swoop, and handed out the power to other people without doing enough due diligence, and we didn't understand the deal. We didn't calculate the risk properly. And the biggest mistake of all, we put all of our eggs into the one basket, every last dollar into one deal. Now, with all of the personal education that I've had since those days, and you girls know how much time I spend on my own personal empowerment, putting all your eggs into one basket without having a cushion underneath you that if you go and you lose it all, you can survive and you can cope, and it's not really going to put that much of a dent into your money. We didn't even understand that. We put it all in. So in essence, we were gamblers. It was like going to the casino and putting it all on red. Well, we certainly had done that, and the casino won, and it was such a life lesson for us to understand money, to have more respect for money, to educate ourselves on building wealth properly, not taking risks, and letting greed get in the way of intelligence, letting greed get in the way of understanding, educating ourselves, not asking questions. So write those things in your journal and ask yourself, wow, where's that showing up in my life? because I know I'm not the only one out there. I just happened to share this story. And, we were ignorant. We were green. I would say green. We didn't have enough financial education or financial intelligence to hand over the $300,000 and hope like crazy that it was going to pull off, because it didn't. In another time and space, it may have come to fruition. And I know so many people make their money in that way, and that's okay. But I'm just saying these are the lessons that I needed to learn. Matt needed to learn, and he has his own version of how he dealt with it. But it was such a wake-up call for me. And, if I talk about now the three-step freedom formula that I always talk about on how we picked up the pieces to go on and still create the life that we wanted to live, the dream and the freedom that we always had that was driving us each and every day, that we picked up and began again. And the first thing that we did was, as I always say, there's only 3 steps. The first step was we made a decision to commit and take that responsibility and recover mentally, emotionally, and financially and physically. Because a hit like that in any area of your life, if you become rattled, it can literally send you into the ground. It can create all sorts of dark spaces if you don't know how to, bring yourself back to equilibrium, to balance the perception out of loss, which I'll talk about, balance the perception of what we thought we'd lost. You don't know how to do that, then you go down one way only, and that's down into the dark pits, down into anxiety, depression, hopelessness, all these things right down here staying in the fear and the guilt and the shame of life, instead of seeing how this particular episode of our life or this particular experience, we had to work out, how do we bring ourselves back up into the light? How do we see the positives and the negatives of that situation? So give me a sign here, ladies, if this is interesting for you, you're taking notes, you can relate in some way or another by putting yourself in my shoes and asking yourself, wow, where are all these things showing up in my life? What would I have done if I'd lost $1 million net profit that we thought was our freaking nest egg? We thought that was our retirement money that was never going to come back. 5 years down the drain. Interaction is really good. At least I know you're there and you're listening. And here's the thing I would say. We had a choice. We could be the victim of our past or a victor of our future. And how, this moment was our opportunity to learn more, to grow more, and transform our thinking and our life. There was only 2 ways, and I'm just leaning in here. You must learn the lesson. We had to learn the lesson, all right. Now, the step 2, if I talk about the live now formula that we always I base my whole life on my live now freedom formula. And every time I have what I perceive as a loss in life or a gain, I always look to this formula to bring myself back to what I call equilibrium, or try and balance myself out so that I'm not manic and crazy with emotion or going down into a deep depression. This is all about empowerment, how to control your mind and your emotions and your thinking. And as you can see, in situations in life, some people think that they don't need self-empowerment. Some people think that they don't need personal development. Some people think it's woo-woo. But here's what I know from my experience and all the things that we have gone through. And I've had lots of other, what some people would perceive tragedies occur in my life financially. But unless you have emotional intelligence, financial intelligence, and you can control your mindset, that is the reason that most people fail in life. They just can't control themselves, and then they can only see one side of the equation, the downside or the upside, manic or depressed. And, through years and years and years of working on my mindset, empowering myself, I've been able to, thank God, bring myself back to seeing the balance. At the time, it was extremely difficult. And I will not sit here and say that it wasn't. It was the hardest, one of the most painful times of my whole life. And so talking about live now, the letter L, for Matt and I, we decided in that moment that love was the answer. We had each other. And so instead of looking at the money that we'd lost, the $1,000,000, we had to look at each other and go, we've got each other, we've got our health, and we have love. And we had to decide then and there that we would make it together. We'd hold hands. We wouldn't blame each other. No pointing the finger going, you shoulda, coulda, woulda. It was, we're in this together. We made this decision together, and we have to stay united. Love was the key. The second part of love is the letting go. And that took time. We had a lot of help, a professional help to help us let it go. And learn to let go and of the guilt and the shame, the anger and the resentment. How do we do that? We had to shift focus and see the positives that come out of that. Now, right now you're thinking, well, freak, there's no positives that have come out of that. Let me tell you, ladies, there are so many positives that came out of that financial loss for us. I'm going to stack them up in a minute for you, and you'll see how we overcame it and went on. At that moment in time, it didn't feel like there was any benefit or gain for us. But over time, we learned to let it go. As I said, your past has nothing to do with your future. You can be a victim of your past or a victor of your destiny. And there was no way I was going down with it. We'd lost every dollar we had, but I certainly wasn't going to let it take me, take my soul, take my spirit, take who I was as a person. So over time, with help, we learned to let it go. And instead of playing the blame game, we decided to take that responsibility and look in the mirror and say, you made that decision based on a win and a gain for nothing. Put your 300 in, get $1 million out. That was a gamble for us at the time. And the other thing was that we needed to practice was forgiveness. So many people cannot get out of their own way. Learn to forgive, forget, and move on. Or learn to forgive, maybe not forget. Learn from that experience. But don't let it keep you bitter. Forgive yourself. There is nothing more empowering and more uplifting for the heart and the soul and the spirit than to learn to forgive yourself. They were moment in times, and we had to learn to let go of stop blaming ourselves, stop the toxic talk. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I'm such an idiot. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so shameful, because it doesn't serve you. Even talking about it, look at me now. I'm a bloody mess on camera. This is just great. How embarrassing. I can sit here and I can beat up on myself, but what's it doing? Look at me. It's not serving me. And so I had to turn it around and learn to forgive the people that we were trying to blame. We are the ones that accepted the deal. No one put a gun to my head. No one put a gun to Matt's head. We accepted that deal, and we needed to forgive ourselves, forgive who the people were that we wanted to blame. It was our responsibility. And so that took time as well. I put it down to now, it was an experience, and an experience that I learned so much from. It makes me a better mentor. It makes me a better coach. It made me a better person. And I was determined to become so strong that money wasn't going to rattle me. And I went on from that. And so that was the letter L in the word live now. Then we had to go into the word letter I in the word live. We had to use our imagination. We'd lost all of our money. And so, it really humbled us. It humbled us in such a way that, we didn't walk around anymore all puffed out thinking we had the answers. It humbled us to the point where we had to go back to the dream. And I want you to take these notes. We had to imagine now what could be possible for us. We'd lost that money, but we still had the dream. We had the dream of being free. Freedom is my number one dream. And so that boiled down to the what did we want? Why did we want it? If the what and your why is big enough, the how will take care of themselves. It kept going right back down to that nitty gritty. And we had to learn to refocus on where we were going, not where we had been. That is gold. Most people wallow in the crap that's gone on, What is, oh yeah, but this happened. You don't understand. This happened. I went through this. I went through that. We've all been through it, babe. You've got to focus on where you're going, not what was. We had to stop talking about it. Literally, Matt and I don't even know if my sister listening to this podcast actually knows this story at this deep level. I have never ever shared or revealed this story to anyone except when I wrote my book From Frustrated to Fabulous and on this podcast. I don't like talking about it. I didn't want to bring it up because the more you talk about it, the more festery you feel. And look at me right now. My eyes have welled up more than a couple of times. Now I'm just snorting into the I need a tissue. Snotting all over myself, girls. I'm a mess. But, talking about it, what good does it do? People who talk about the past, keep going on and on and on about what was. Oh, my God, no wonder they go crazy. No wonder they're anxious. No wonder they're depressed. No wonder they live on pills, booze, TV. All of that is a drug to help you to help you, numb your mind. It wasn't the answer. Drinking wasn't the answer. Drugs wasn't the answer. Talking about it with a psychologist or a psychiatrist wasn't the answer for us. What was the answer? Refocusing, working out what our big what was, our why, and focusing on a new adventure, a new future, new possibility. That's the word I in live now. And so we would say to ourselves, so here we are as wealth and lifestyle mentors, teachers. We teach people how to create a life that they truly love to live. And so we had to stand up and be that person. And I think that really helped us stop wallowing in our own self-pity, is to have a dream and a cause bigger than ourselves, right? That helped us get over ourselves. And so what did we do? We focused on our work. We focused on other people. Write that down in your journal. That is gold. Focus on other people, not your problems, helps you overcome feelings of anxiety and depression, woe is me, guilt, shame, resentment, anger. When you take the focus off you, you begin to uplift and shine to the outside world. Then we move to the letter V in the word live. Visualize. Matt and I had to create a whole new vision board of what we wanted to create. We needed to see into the future. We went to more seminars. We did more seminars. In fact, from that day onwards, we committed. We literally spoke, I think, on stage at least 43 times a year, 43 weekends a year. We had an office with a lot of staff teaching wealth education around the internet, mainly eBay back then. And we devoted our time, our energy, our resources to serving other people, creating education that was high class, high impact, that would change other people's lives. So instead of thinking about ourselves, focusing on our problems, feelings of self-pity, we turned it outward and focused on other people because we came together. Now, back in 2005, Matt and I used to say, we are not two people. We are 1 + 1 is 11. And we started saying that on stage back in 2007 when we got on stage and started doing these wealth creation seminars. We would say that to every single student that we had. As a couple, if you are in business as a couple, you are not two individuals, you are 1 and 1, and that's 11 multiplied. And we decided that we'd come together, multiply our energies, our efforts, our care factor, our love, and give to other people. And there's a saying, as you know, girls, you help enough other people get what they want, and you will in turn get what you want. So for us, the big key word here, service to many. Give the love. And so what happened is it would radiate out of us, and by keeping busy, getting on stage, sharing the message of hope, encouragement to other people, what did that do for us? It gave us hope. It gave us encouragement to keep going. You can create something out of nothing if you have the right mentors, you can create something out of nothing if you focus on other people instead of your small life, okay? And I don't mean that to be a smart aleck. I mean it because I know it to be true because I've been there myself. And so we would have all of these visuals of us on stage, and we'd have this scrapbook of images and us mentoring and coaching tens of thousands of people around the world, changing their life, which in essence changed ours. And I can say to you ladies, not once from that moment that we made that decision did I ever go back into anxiety or depression or anything like that. Yes, I had mentors to help me. Yes, I continued to empower myself. But because I was focusing on our seminars, and I love them, by the way, look at me here, I'm starting to get happy again because I love doing this. I love empowering people. That was my medicine. Ask yourself, anyone who's listening to this podcast, ask yourself, what is your medicine? Is your medicine focusing on yourself, feeling sorry for yourself every time something goes south? Or is your medicine shining from the inside out, giving your light, your love, your hope, your courage to other people who are desperately seeking what you have to offer? And, you know, I remember I've had so many mentors and coaches in my whole life since I was a kid, but they've always said, when you can focus on something bigger than yourself, or until you focus on something bigger than yourself, you'll never get past yourself. You'll never get past your worries, your fears, your stresses in life, your anxieties, your depressions. And that's what saved me. Then we move into the letter E for the word live, empowerment. And I think that's why now, ladies, for the rest of my professional life, I will teach, inspire, empower and impact women, because without it, we're nothing. You know, I know that it is the answer to your life's problems and empowerment. Work on yourself. You're worth the investment. Spend the time, spend the money, and learn from the greats. One of my mentors that I have so much to do with it, you all know I love working with, Dr. John Demartini, always says, stand on the shoulders of giants. Don't put them up on a pedestal and put yourself in a pit. That's how I was feeling right back in 2008, 2009, 2010, going, holy hell, stood on the shoulders of giants. I learnt as much as I could. I absorbed everything. And that's why I'm so dedicated, not addicted. Well, you can call it an addiction, dedicated to working on my mindset, my mental and emotional intelligence, my physical form, my physical being. Because if you're out of whack physically, you're out of whack mentally. Don't care what anyone says. And, you know, I will debate it till the cows come home. If you are out of whack physically, you are out of whack mentally and emotionally. You can't cope with what life brings you if you don't take care of your body. Be strong mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I'm not saying it's how you look, it is how you feel. You need to be strong. And so we kept working on ourselves and we kept committing to being better. And I think, ladies, being a teacher, being a mentor, being a coach has really helped me stay on top of it all. You know, I know that other people have their own way of dealing with such a loss like that, and dealing with loss in any area of life, you know, and it could be a lover, it could be a child, it could be a relationship that really means something to you, a job, a career, or a business that means a lot to you. How do you cope? You know, what is your breaking point? How do you bring yourself back to seeing the gifts and the gold in what seems like a disaster at the time? You know, this is what you've got to work on. And so you can see I had to start to stack up all of the benefits of losing that money. I have to ask myself, you know, if I hadn't lost that financial, if I hadn't lost that net worth, that $1 million net worth that we actually had written on paper like a deed that we owned it, if I hadn't lost that, where would I be today? I'm not sure I'd be sitting here having this conversation with you from the heart. I think you can see that it's raw. I say that about this podcast. It's raw, it's real, it's relatable. Give me a thumbs up if you would agree with those 3 words. I don't know if I'd be sitting here being my truest, authentic self if I haven't lived these experiences. If I hadn't been able to bring myself back and see the positives against the negatives of life, would I be sitting here? I very much doubt it. I think that my life would have taken a different twist and turn. And so, as many mentors and gurus say, our pathway is already laid out for us when we come into this physical form from spirit. I believe this is the path and the life that I had to live to be able to be the teacher that I am today, and the coach and the mentor. Because if you can learn from these experiences and take down these notes, you can avoid so much of the pain that will come your way otherwise if you just stay ignorant. And the biggest thing that I could take out of that, when I say empowerment, act as if. Matt and I continue to travel, to speak, to be on stage, to inspire, to mentor, to impact tens of thousands of people. We left the past behind and we kept acting as if everything was normal. We weren't lying, I don't say lie, but acting as if we would hold ourselves in a position of success. We would dress for success. We would act successfully. We would still have our dreams and aspirations on our dream board. And we would do our gratitude journal each and every day. Nothing stopped. Act as if until it came to fruition. And then, that's the word live, L-I-V-E, and then it goes into now. Never quit. Opportunity and willing. For us, those three letters, never quit. There's no way that being on stage and sharing our message of hope and inspiration and encouragement to tens of thousands of people, how the hell could we quit? If we quit, we would be quitting on the people. And that's how I always saw it. I look at myself in the mirror some days and I go, I've just got nothing. I'm having a shit day. I'm having it's just too much for me. I don't think I can pick up the pieces. And I'd look in the mirror and I'd say, Amanda, if you're going to quit, who are you quitting on? You're quitting on your family. My mum and dad needed financial help and support. They'd had a few situations go wrong. Am I quitting on my mum and dad? What about the masses of people who turn up to the seminars to be coached and mentored? Am I quitting on them because I'm feeling sorry for myself? Am I quitting on children? If you have children, are you quitting on your children because it's too hard? These are the days I say, have a cup of concrete and harden the hell up. I'm coming a little bit forthright now, so I've got my boxing gloves on. You've got to fight, ladies. Fight for freedom. Fight for things that you believe in and get yourself up. Have that cup of concrete and go, you know what? The people are worth it. My children are worth it. My partner is worth it. My family, my friends, my co-workers, my community, my city, my country is worth it. Get over yourself. And that's what I'd say to myself, Amanda, nice cup of concrete and off you go, pet. I'd get on stage and I'd just give my everything. And as I said, then we go into the letter O for opportunity meets preparation. The time, the energy, and the effort that we put into serving other people paid off. So much opportunity came from that loss of that $1 million. We had speaking gigs every weekend. We spoke in America. We went to London and spoke in front of 5,000 people. Oh my God, I nearly crap my dacks. Never seen so many people who wanted to hear our message. So much opportunity. And what happened from that? The more we served, the more income we created through our education, our mentoring, and just giving of ourselves, being real, being authentic, giving love from the heart, not bullshit from stuff regurgitated. And that's what I would say to you if you're listening to this. What are you giving? Who are you serving? What gifts and riches are you sharing to other people that can uplift them? It begins with you. It begins with your children. It begins with your family. Uplifting, coming together. Remember, we were saying this in 2007 on stage. 1 and 1 is 11. And you keep that focus and say, oh, how can I impact my children? What can I teach them about respecting money, respecting education, self-education, not school education. That's a whole nother topic. Becoming mentally and emotionally intelligent and strong and physically strong to handle anything that life brings to you. And then the final letter in the word live now is W, willing, whatever it takes. Again, Matt and I committed 7 days a week. We literally spent every weekend speaking on stage, sometimes through the week. And then Monday to Friday, we ran an office with 15 staff. At one stage, we had over 15 staff. And it was another go for 7 years, almost another 7 years. And so I ask you, putting yourself in my shoes, if you'd gone through that experience, how would you have dealt with it? Do you feel that you could have been the victim, or you are playing the victim? Be honest with yourself, because you can't hide from the mirror, babe. You can't hide. Or the victor of your destiny. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got self-pity, woe is me, stories and tales. And I say the horse stinks. Bury the friggin' thing. Bury the horse because it stinks. Cover it up with as much sand as you can out in the desert in Las Vegas or somewhere like that. And bury that thing once and for all, girls, because your life depends on it, and other people are depending on you, waiting to hear your message, waiting for you to serve them with your love, your wisdom, and what you can teach someone else. And so the very third thing in the 3-step process, so the first step was decide and commit. The second step was following the live now freedom formula that has been my life savior. And then the third one, the mastermind. Without the mastermind of the right community, the right people, the right environment, the right conversation, you're dead in the water. And I'll say it to anyone, you are stuffed if you don't stay within a mastermind that can help you create and do more in 1 year than you can do in a lifetime by yourself. Because I always say, borrow somebody else's belief. Like, borrow my belief in you. I'm going to share so many stories here that you girls haven't even probably heard of. So many things. Borrow a belief, because if I can pull through, anybody can. Most people know that I failed everything at school, was told I was dumb and I would amount to nothing, but you've got to find it within yourself. Self-empowerment and the right mastermind community is the key, because I always say, who's guiding you? Who believes in you? Who's got you by the hand? Who's giving you the answers? You've got to have that right community, and never, ever, ever ask the advice of somebody who doesn't have what you want in life, because they ain't qualified to give you the answer. Hope you wrote that down. And as I said, so many big ahas from this experience. Count your blessings, write this down. Some of the ahas that I really got. Our main focus, serve other people. Take your services to the world and give as much as you can. Begin with yourself and your family. Forgiveness within and without. Forget it. There's no shame, there's no guilt. It's just an experience and your view of the world. Write that down. It's only a view of the world and the meaning that you give to it. There were so many golden nuggets that come out of us losing that $1 million. And I can almost say it now without choking. It was worth it, because I wouldn't have sat here and I wouldn't have spoken on stages for the last 13 years now. 13 years moving into 14 years, sharing this message of inspiration. Next thing I got, you are bigger than your problems. You are bigger than your problems when you become empowered. Mentally, emotionally, physically. In every area of your life, not one area, but all areas of your life. You can always make money, but you can never take back time. That's a big one for me. Money's everywhere. Money goes where money flows. Money goes where money's appreciated. Money is a transaction of service. Depending on the service that you take to the world will depend on the money that you create. Matt and I have gone on to make many, many millions of dollars in net worth since that time of the GFC, because we took service to the world. We took our wisdom, we took our education to the world, and we helped other people get what they want. We created many millionaires out in the marketplace. We helped other people change their lives. We helped people get free of the shackles of life that they hated and in their mind. What are you going to do? Everything happens for a reason. That's the next gift. Everything. Who would have thought that time at the GFC, that there were so many gifts that could come from that? Everything happens for a reason. There's no mistakes. Careful who you share with. Matt and I never shared this information with anybody for many, many years. I ended up having to get some some personal help with it, overcoming it. Again, finding the balance, the equilibrium, so that I wasn't manic and depressed. I didn't share it with anyone. You guys are the first I've really shared. This is the very first time I've spoken about that publicly ever. This is the first time. Careful who you share things with. Stick to your community and your mastermind only, and your mentors, because they will never, ever judge you. The right mentor will never, ever judge you. And as I said, never, ever forget to do your gratitudes each and every day. Everything that you can count your blessings for. Remember, money's just energy, but people are the most important thing. You know, together, my husband and I, Matt, we got through. We're together, and to this day, we still say, I've got your back, babe. 1 + 1 is 11, and nothing will ever break that bond unless we allow it to, and allow our emotions to run our life. And that's what I would end with, ladies. If you have a partner, come together and say, how can nothing ever penetrate the love and the bond and the encouragement and the empowerment that we have as a couple and a family? That's what I would say. And that's how I would end that. And thank you for the love hearts. I hope you girls really found a way to put yourself in my shoes. You would have taken so many notes from that, I hope, because it was a big time in my life. So many gifts come out of that. And next week's podcast, I'm going to be talking about money again. It's a hot topic. And I'm going to be talking about how to ditch your negative vibes around money for good. Ladies, did you enjoy this podcast? Give me a symbol or a crying, or you didn't like it, or a thumbs up or a love heart, or whatevs. It's just a story I shared with you. And if you are looking forward to next week's podcast, how to ditch your negative vibes around money for good. Such a big one. There are so many comments here. Ladies, I will absolutely be going in here live shortly to respond to each of your messages. Comment below. I would love to really know by a comment today what you took from this personally. The feedback's really, for me, it's not about me. It's about how I can serve you better, give you more, educate you more, and elevate you more so that you can go out and impact others and live the life that you dream of and that the life that you deserve. So I'm very interested to hear your comments around this story. I really appreciate it. Have a fabulous day. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for sharing, and I'll talk to you soon. Big cyber hugs, by the way. Have a wonderful weekend, whatever you are up to. Bye for now. Okay, gorgeous. Now, we have covered so much today, and this wraps up today's empowering podcast on how to overcome feelings of self-pity when you lose absolutely everything financially. And I truly hope that you learned so much from my personal story. Till next week, I appreciate you tuning in to the Gday Gorgeous podcast that certainly empowers women for life and helps you go from feeling frustrated to fabulous in health, wealth, and happiness. And if I can do it, you can too. And please, if you like this episode and you got value from it, I reckon you would have today, I'd be super grateful if you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and pay it forward by sharing this podcast with others that you care about, other women who would greatly benefit from these life success lessons. And next week, we'll be covering this important question, how to ditch your negative vibes around money for good. Again, another massive frustration for most people, money. Till next week, to find out more about my coaching inside Select community where I can help you, my new book that comes in audio, paperback, the journals, the diaries, and everything I talk about, and to meet amazing women inside our community. Again, head over to the website, gdaygorgeous.com. And until next week, be bold, be courageous, and even more fabulous. Bye for now.